غالب کے موضوع پہ تھے. انہوں نے غالب کے بارے میں لکھی تھی. غالب کی سوانح عمری تھی, اس کی بایوگرافی تھی, اور ان کی شاعری کا ترجمہ تھا انگریزی میں. تو غالب شناسی کا ایک حصہ ہے کہ میں پون جی کو غالب کی نسبت سے جانتا تھا, اور یہ کہ جو غالب کے واقف کار ہیں ان سے ملنے کی تمنا رہتی ہے. اور اس زمانے میں آپ شاید ICCR میں ڈائریکٹر تھے, وہ انڈین کلچرل سوسائٹی میں. اور نیم رانا ایک نیم رانا فورٹ میں بڑی خوش قسمتی کہ انہیں پتہ نہیں کہاں سے میرا نام ملا. یہ یاد آ گیا, پارٹیشن کے بارے میں ایک چھوٹی سی گفتگو ہوئی تھی کہ کچھ شاید پاکستان سے بھی آئے تھے, مجھے بلایا تھا, اور میں صرف اس لیے گیا تھا کہ میں غالب کے واقف کاروں سے مل کے آؤں. گھبراتا تھا اس طرح کی میٹنگ میں جاتے ہوئے, لیکن ان سے ملنے چلا گیا تو. اور وہ غالب کے طرفدار ہیں, لیکن میں ان کی کتاب کی وجہ سے گیا تھا, تو کہتا تھا کہ ہم سخن فہم ہیں, غالب کے طرفدار نہیں ہیں. اور یہ مصرع غالب کے ہاتھ سے ہی آیا. تو وہاں مجھے ایک موقع ملا تھا, شام کے وقت بیٹھے ہوئے کچھ شاعر لوگ تھے, کچھ باہر سے آئے ہوئے تھے, تھوڑی تھوڑی اپنی شاعری کا ذکر کریں اور سنائیں گے. اور کیونکہ غالب پر لکھی کتاب پڑھ چکا تھا تو مجھے شک ہوا تھا کہ پون جی صرف پروز نہیں لکھتے, صرف نثر نہیں لکھتے, وہ شاعری ضرور کرتے ہوں گے. اور میں نے یہ سوال ان سے کیا, بجائے اس سے کہ پوچھوں, میں نے ان سے کہا تھا, میں نے کہا آپ کیوں نہیں سناتے, ہم سب سنا رہے ہیں کہنے سے. تو اس وقت انہوں نے انگریزی میں لکھی ہوئی سونٹس کی فارم میں لکھی ہوئی یدھشٹر اور دروپدی پر ایک بہت لمبی نظم سنائی, اور اٹ ریمائنڈیڈ می آف پیراڈائز لاسٹ, کہ اتنی ہی مشکل انگریزی جتنی میں ملٹن لکھتے ہیں, اور اسی طرح کی داستان. لیکن دیٹس دی ٹائم وین آئی ہرڈ ہز پوئٹری. مجھے یاد ہے, میں وہ بھولا نہیں, وہ کچھ 2 سونٹس جو ان کا جو کانفلکٹ ہے یدھشٹر کا دروپدی کا, اس کے بارے میں کس طرح سے لکھا تھا انہیں. اور پھر بہت دن کے بعد جب مجھے موقع ملا, میں نے وہ پوری کتاب اردو ورس میں ٹرانسلیٹ کی, ترجمہ کیا اور پیش کی میں کتاب. And that's how I know him only through books and many a books which he has written. اور مجھے لگتا ہے وہ ادیب ہیں, رائٹر ہیں, اور بڑے پرولیفک رائٹر, اور لکھتے ہی رہتے ہیں, بس وہ پتہ نہیں کیسے کر لیتے ہیں یہ سارا. اور یہ معلوم ہوا کہ مطلب سرکار میں بھی ہیں, گورنمنٹ کے عہدوں پر بھی ہیں, وہ اپنے کونسلیٹ بھی رہے ہیں, ایمبیسیڈر رہے ہیں, اور کیا کچھ نہیں کیا. اور اس بیچ میں اس کے باوجود وہ کتابیں لکھتے رہتے ہیں. کچھ جونیئر اردو شاعروں کا ترجمہ بھی کرتے ہیں انگریزی میں. اور اس حال میں اب ایک ہندوستان کی ایک سوشل کنڈیشن جو بدلتی رہتی ہے, جو بدلتی چلی آ رہی ہے, اس پر وہ نبض پکڑے رہنا اور اس پر لکھنا اور اس پر ذکر کرنا. وہ 2-3 کتابیں جو ایک دا گریٹ انڈین مڈل کلاس, بینگ انڈین اینڈ بیکمنگ انڈین, آر ریمارکیبل بکس. And he has been contributing in preserving and explaining the Indian culture. اور اسے کس طرح سے سنبھال لیا جائے, کیسے اس کو سنبھال کے بھی رکھا جا سکتا ہے, اس پر وہ لکھی کتابیں. اور اس کے علاوہ میں نے جیسے کہا کچھ ترجمے بھی کرتے ہیں, لیکن کچھ ریسرچ ورک کرتے رہتے ہیں, جس میں انہوں نے چانکیہ پر بھی, کرشنا پر بھی کتابیں لکھی. اور اس کے بعد یہ کتاب ان کی آدی شنکراچاریہ جو پڑھی, تو میں نے سوچا یہ وقت کے ساتھ ساتھ چلنے والا شخص جو سوشل چینجز, समाजी तब्दीलियाँ जो आती हैं उनको कैसे अपने अंदाज से बयान करता रहता है। और ये किताब अब मैंने इसे बहरहाल रिलीज तो ज़रूर कर दी है, पढ़ी भी है, कुछ समझ में भी आई है और कुछ ऊपर से भी निकल गई, क्योंकि ना तो मैं मज़हब को इतनी अच्छी तरह से जानता हूँ और वो श्लोक और वो जो जिनके मतलब कुछ अब समझ में आए, जो सुनते चले आए इतने अरसे से, अब पता चला उनके रेफरेंसेस समझ में आए, तो बड़ा अच्छा अंदाज हुआ, बहुत अच्छा लगा। और पढ़ते हुए मैं एक जिक्र कर दूँ कि मेरा फेवरेट चैप्टर है वेयर ही एक्सप्लेन्स दी कॉस्मोस, जहाँ हमारी पूरी यूनिवर्स के बारे में, and through those shlokas which are there in the writings of Aadishankaracharya. तो वो कॉस्मोस was my very very favorite subject, और ना ज़्यादा देर आपके बीच में वक्फा करने के साथ साथ ये कहूँ, कुछ डेट्स, कुछ फासले, कुछ लाइट ईयर्स, कुछ पढ़े थे, कुछ नए समझ में आए, कुछ याद रहे, और मुझे सिर्फ इतना कहने के कुछ दो मिसरे याद आ गए थे कि 8 ही मिलियन उम्र ज़मीन की होगी शायद, ऐसा एक अंदाज़ा है कुछ साइंसदानों का। 4.6 4.6 4.6 बरस तो गुजर चुके हैं, तुमने कितनी देर लगा दी आने में, और आकर किस मजहब और जात पात के फेर में पड़ी हो। चलो चलें, बस 3 ही बिलियन साल बचे हैं। बहुत बहुत शुक्रिया।
Gulzar Saheb has this ability to say the most complex things in a very simple way. It's a real gift. Although I must admit, at some point, well, I don't get the language, but I still, it does, especially in his poetry, it does that so beautifully. Incidentally, what Tasneem didn't mention was that Pavan has translated a lot of Gulzar Saheb poems into English. And there are lovely editions where you get the original and the translation next to each other. So that's something to look out for. Incidentally, Pavan is, again, his CV was too long for Tasneem to have taken the whole evening. But before we begin talking about the subject today, I want to know, how the hell do you manage to pack in so much in a day? This man has been an ambassador, he's been a civil servant, he's been a writer, poet, political advisor, cultural czar. Should I stop there? So, a renaissance man. And it's wonderful that you managed to do so much. And perhaps you should tell us the secret of time management later. The first question that one asks when you get this book is, why? Why did you write it now? Because I associate you with more, not material exactly, but more things of the earth rather than of the spirit. Therefore, it came as a surprise.
Well, if anybody were to make an analysis of trying to find a single theme in the books I've written, it would take a considerable period of time. Because my first book was a biography of Mirza Ghazi, after which I did a book on the Havelis of Old Delhi. This is my 22nd book. So,
that's what I was saying.
Then I wrote on Krishna, then I wrote on the great Indian middle class, being Indian, becoming Indian, Chanakya. I wrote, the only novel I wrote has been made into a Bollywood film. It's called When Loss is Gain. I've translated Gulzar Saheb, Kefi Azmi, Atal Bihari Vajpayee. I've written a book on the Kama Sutra also. So there have been many books. And I think essentially there is a search to try and understand different aspects of which we are legatees. As Indians, not necessarily as Hindus only, because my subjects deal with India as a whole and what is happening in India, at least my contemporary books. And you'll be surprised, Anil, even Ghalib was written from the point of view of understanding his times as much as understanding his poetry. So in that space, this book, or rather Aadishankaracharya, fascinated me for 2 or 3 reasons, which I was mentioning earlier this evening. Firstly, his life itself. A man born in the 8th century in Kerala, in Kaladi, who takes samadhi in Kedarnath and travels the length and breadth of this land by foot not once but twice. And in the scope of that very short life of only 32 years, sets up the 4 mutts or monasteries which draw up the civilizational map of India as it was and it remains today. Sringeri in the south, Dwarka in the west, Puri in the east, and Joshimath in the north.
He even goes to Srinagar.
He goes to Srinagar and writes copiously. The third was, as you go into Advaita, the Vedantic school of thought, and it's not the only school of thought in Hinduism. That in itself was a discovery which I'd like to talk about. But if you go into the Vedantic school of thought, the sheer compressed cerebral energy in trying to understand who we are and what is this world about. It's a question all of us, in moments of reflection or when we pause from the avalanche of municipal concerns that rule our life, when we pause or think, it's a question that confronts us. Why? To what avail? To what goal? To what purpose? To what end? Is there anything beyond the contingent, the immediate, the qualified, the conditioned? Or is there something more? And what is fascinating is that in large parts of Hindu philosophy, they are not Srishti Chintaks. They are not examining the empirical world. Aadishankaracharya and many others were Paramarthik Chintaks. Their concern was not with God, their concern was what could possibly be the ultimate truth. What could be the absolute reality? And what is our place in it? That is why I often say that of the 6 systems of Hindu philosophy, 5 are technically atheist. They are not talking about Ishwar. They are talking about, once again, the Paramarthik Chintaks, great thinking. So there was this philosophy. And lastly, and if I may just answer your question as I say often on TV debates, in 30 seconds more. Lastly, I felt there is a need today. There is a need today for Hindus, as they face a new form of aggression in the religion, as they face self-appointed evangelists who say this alone is Hinduism. It is important for them to explain to them the profundity of thought that underpins this religion. The sheer size of the canvas that defines the power of original thought, Maulik Soch, that underpins Hinduism. the dialogic nature of this religion, its eclecticism, its inclusiveness, its ability to debate called Shastra. It's important to understand all this, and I thought the best template to do that was to go to one of its greatest minds, Aadishankaracharya.
You know, this particular passage you quote from the Rig Veda about the beginning of the universe. It's so amazing. Can you read it out?
You know, the Rig Veda is written sometime 1,000 years before the Common Era. And look at the rumination. It is not a fiat, it is not a diktat, it is not the assertion of certitude. It is the exploration, the interrogation, the asking of the question of what could possibly be. And it says there was neither non-existence nor existence there. There was neither the realm of space nor the sky which is beyond. What stirred? Where? In whose protection? Was there water, bottomlessly deep? There was neither death nor immortality then. There was no distinguishing sign of night and day. That one, Tat Tvam Asiya, the Upanishads would say, that one breathed, windless, by its own impulse. Other than that, there was nothing beyond. And then the next question, it's so important. These are the foundational texts. Who really knows? Who will here proclaim it? Whence was it produced? Whence is this creation? The gods came afterwards with the creation of this universe. Who then knows whence it has arisen? Whence this creation has arisen? Perhaps it formed itself, or perhaps it did not. The one who looks down on it in the highest heaven, only he knows, or perhaps he does not know.
It's so brilliant. Because it's not asserting anything. It's not laying down a creation. It's just saying these are the possibilities.
Indeed.
One thing I saw when I read your book was that you must have found it very difficult to actually find out things about it because there are no historical records at all. And there's a lot of myth making. In fact, some of the myths are quite funny. Apparently this young Aadishankaracharya wants to become an ascetic and he's already lost his father and the mother says, no, you can't leave. And then he goes into the river to have a bath. And you continue the story.
Well, you know, obviously he showed signs of, as Anil says, of being a renunciate very early. He was a child prodigy. And his father died, his mother was a widow, he was the only child, mother didn't wish him to renounce the world. And so now, the story goes. Story, fable, mythology, anecdote reinforce a central point and illustrate. Their value is in the illustration of an essential truth or a historical fact. So the story goes that he's in the river and he shouts out to his mother to say that a crocodile has caught my foot. And I am about to be pulled under, and the only thing that can save me is if you say, yes, I give you permission. So it's Hobson's choice, and then she says. And she says, he says, don't delay, there's no time, and she says, yes. And that's how he gets his permission. And similarly, there are all, the whole thing about Hinduism is that the greatest harm you can do to Hinduism is to simplify it to a level where you lose the nuanced and beautiful tapestry of complexity which is one of the characteristics of ancient civilizations.
Well, that will take everything literally.
Literally.
Yeah.
But you see, his parents, Shankaracharya's parents, for a long time did not have a child. And then, according to hagiographies,
Yeah.
Shiva appears and he says, you can have a child, but you have a choice. Now, once again, a choice. You will have a child who will be adult but will live for very long.